What's up, boys? So we're picking up just where we left off. We got my 740 in the shop. I have some spare time today, so I thought I should start out at least with doing some therapy work. So I'm going to maybe not lift the engine tonight, we'll do that tomorrow. Hopefully everything goes alright, and I have my GoPro charged. So let's go on the GoPro, boys. So yeah guys, I'm on the GoPro now. I don't know how good the sound quality is on this thing. I think it's kind of trash, but at least now I guess we'll start racing on this thing, and I'll give a couple of comments on what I'm doing as we're doing the shit, you know? The thing is too, I love listening to podcasts while I ranch, so I usually wear these and listen to some good stuff while I do shit. I guess that's kind of a reason why I don't film so much too. So I'm actually beginning right now with taking off some radiator hoses. Really, you don't need to take the radiator out, but this shroud thing is way too big when pulling the engine. I want to get rid of it, and then also we're replacing this radiator with the one we took from the other car. So actually these radiator hoses also, every single one on the car is like brand new. I'm reusing these things. Then I'll take off the fan, just so we don't have to deal with the shroud. So we got the fan off, and I would just like to point out I freaking love this tool. It's so nice when doing shit like this. So if you haven't seen one of these, I think you have, I'll just show you real quick. You can use this as a regular ratchet, but then you have the trigger here for the electric tip. And this thing does about 50 newton meters, I think, which isn't really a lot, but for just small bolts and stuff where you need to get into small places, this works out great. Man, I wonder where this thing is leaking from. This radiator actually looks better than the last one. So I guess we're just going to pull the whole intake off of this thing. I wasn't really going to, but it'll just be so much easier getting to the wiring and everything underneath here. I did pull out the engine before this without actually getting those things off. Yeah, as you guys can see, this is just such a shit show. I think we'll just go pull the intake off. I wonder what this cable goes to. It goes somewhere in the car. What the fuck is that thing? This might be for something important, but it might not also. So what I'm going to do here, I'll just cut this thing off, because right now I kinda need to. And I'll know this thing is cut off, and I'll just check it out when we can remove the intake. Dude, this thing is so weird. I mean, to be honest with you guys, since we're going to run a standalone ECU, I guess it doesn't really matter that much. But I feel like when you're removing a bunch of cables, at least you should know what the cables are for. Like these two, I know that these two are for the temp gauge that I have in my A-pillar. So the temp gauge doesn't work in my dash, and it never has. But I think I know why. Because we have a connector right here, which I do believe is for the water temp sensor, that's placed like somewhere underneath the intake. I don't know for sure if this is the one that's for that sensor, but I think it is, and that should explain why the temp gauge is not working. So I guess we'll hope for that. This thing is just shit. Boop, 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 boop. Why is this thing so loose? Oh shit, dude. Dude, the whole fucking carb is loose. What the fuck is this? Fuck, dude. So yeah, fuck. Now I know why my car ran like shit. Yeah, basically the whole carb was loose. I felt that I could move it, you know. And these 4 bolts that I guess hold the carb to the intake were like completely loose, all of them. One of them was like up here, as you could see. I guess that's why the carb was acting up. Dude, what the fuck? There's so much shit here. Hell yeah, boys. We got the carb and the intake out. My gloves are freaking dirty, man. Let's grab a pair of new ones. So I kind of recently started using these one-time use gloves. Because I think that when you buy like some mechanics gloves and you do like real dirty work on old cars, they kind of get nasty real quick. The thing that's really weird is that I actually have like 2 fuel lines. So I don't know why I have that. I shouldn't have a return. This one smells like gas. Dude, this is so weird. I didn't think that carbureted cars had a return line. But then what is this thing for? If I do actually have a feed and a return, that would make my life so much easier. But we can actually check that out in a way. So we have an air compressor right here. I'm going to try and do a trick which I usually do when parting out cars. I usually want to take all of the fuel out of the gas tank. Because, I don't know, free fuel I guess is nice. Let's try and put it in this one. Damn, we get fuel. Oh, bruh. Bruh, we got too much fucking fuel in here. But yeah, we got fuel coming out of that hose. We got fuel fucking everywhere because I'm retarded. But then if we take this hose and we put pressure in here instead, we maybe not need to put so much pressure. Yeah, we got fuel coming out of here, boys. Fuck! Dude, I only have this thing to fill up. Bruh, did me dirty. Oh, bruh, this is such a fucking shit show. What the fuck do I do? So basically what we know right now is that we have a fuel in and fuel return line. Which is really great news, boys. You should be fucking hyped about this. Let's just grab a piece of tape, put it on the line that goes to the fuel pump, and now we know that one is the fucking the one that sends fuel. We'll do 2 stripes for the return, 1 stripe for fuel in. So that means we actually might not even need to pull lines throughout the whole car. No, this is not the way you're supposed to do it, but I guess I'll just put a fuel pump in the rear and just run 1 fuel pump instead of 2, because I don't need to. And then I'll just put some sort of fuel filter right here in the engine bay instead. Easier to change out and I don't have to go underneath the car. Seems like we're good, boys. Ah, this is so great news. What's up, boys? So in the last clip you saw me lifting out the engine of my car, and I've started to prepare the new engine to go into this car. So what I did basically is that I took the alternator and the power steering pump from this engine that's had in the car, put it on the new engine. This is all a bolt-on application, of course, just 2 B230s. But then I got the power steering pump on this side and the alternator on that side, which is what I wanted. And then I took the intake off also to check out the sensors and all of that, and made some pretty interesting finds. So this next segment of the video will be for those who are a bit interested in wiring. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying to figure out what I should do. I think I've figured it out by now. This is the engine we took out of the car. This is a B230K. We have 4 sensor things right here. This thing is some shit for the carb, so this thing I don't need. This left one is water temp for the gauge, this is NOx sensor, and this is water temp for the engine management. And remember boys, this is for the gauge cluster for the water temp. No, the water temp has never worked in my car. That's why I have this extra gauge fitted right here. And if we look at the head and the block of the new B230, we have another plug for the water temp in the dash. We have water temp for the ECU and our NOx sensor right here. So the funny thing is that on this car it actually has the plug for that type of water temp gauge that's on the B230F. So this has never even been plugged into my engine, and the engine that I've had in the car has the wrong sensor. So that's why the water temp gauge has never been working. And I wonder if somebody put that there, or nobody has changed out this connector. So apparently, I guess sometime, because there are a bunch of different ones, I think there's 2 different ones that came on B230s. Someone changed out the sensor for the water temp, and when they did that they failed, bought the wrong one and just never fixed it. But then I got to thinking, so we're gonna take a new wiring harness, we're going to make a new wiring harness basically for that B230, and I've started looking into the wiring that's already in the car, what we can remove and how to make it nicer. So this is what I have removed so far. Just a bit of things for the auxiliary lights, the ignition coil, because we're going to run a different one, and then we have like a temp sensor that was for the carb. Those cables right there are like a sensor that you have in this thing, so the engine knows which way it's spinning and how for the ignition. And I also removed some like electronics for the carb. And what I did when I removed those is that I took some heat shrink over it. I wonder if I can find it. Yeah, like here. Cut it off, put some heat shrink over to protect the cables. You can go ahead and remove them completely, but that is a lot of effort, and effort I'm not going to to use for this car. Also did the same right here on these cables. But then I got to the main harness, which is this kind of thing, which isn't a lot because this car had a carburetor on it. Started to go through this and check out what we can remove. So here we have the D plus for the alternator. So this is basically the light in your dash that makes the alternator start charging, because it needs a 12 volt current to start up and then it starts to charge. So this thing we'll have to keep. Now we also have this cable that I cut off when we removed the engine, that I didn't know what it was for. So the ignition in this car is kind of fucked up. Doesn't really work on the key always. So I have this extra button right here, and that's what that cable is for. Now I'm going to take quite the haggard approach to this one and just make it a bit nicer, because the last owner, he just speaker wired it up and it's looking really bad. So I'm thinking we should do that a bit more nicer, and we'll still keep this cable. This one seems to go to the plus side of the alternator, so I don't really know what this thing is for, so I'll keep it if I can't figure out what. By these cables we also have the oil level for the gauges, so you get that red light when you're out of oil. So basically all of these will keep, and redo one of them. Then we'll get to the rest of the cables. This is the starter signal for the starter, so this thing will need, keep that. This is some Haggard type of shit that I think will remove, but it has this green cable, which I do believe, yeah, goes into this plug. Don't need this. Like, everything we need in this harness is basically only for the engine to start and for the sensors and gauges to work that are going to the gauge cluster. Then we have the temp sensor for the actual gauge. This thing we do need, and hopefully that solves our problem with the actual temp gauge in the car not working. And this is another temp gauge. This cable we will be removing because the standalone ECU will be using that port. So I'll actually be cutting this thing off and not using this anymore. This thing was for some random sensor under the carb, so we can remove these two basically. And when we do this and fix the sensor for the gauge cluster with this thing, we can also remove all of these cables which go to the extra pod gauge that's right here in my A-pillar. Also redoing like all of the wiring for the auxiliary lights because I want it looking a bit nicer, and that's easy to do while I'm doing all of this. And also removing the cable for this thing. I think this is called like an ignition control module or something. But all of these things will be handled by the standalone ECU, rather than having like an extra set of plugs laying in your engine bay that you don't need. You can take them away, and if you do this real seriously, you can like pull all of the cables out the harness, or just make a new harness for it to work. But since this is just a beater, I'm just trying to clean it up like fast and easy, you know. So I'm going to make some calls and find out if I'm retarded or if all of this is right. Fix up the electrical work a bit. I don't think we'll do the auxiliary lights wiring today because I haven't got all of the things that I do want to make it real nice. And I don't think also that we're doing the extra ignition button today. Just cutting things off and tidying it up to make it a bit more nice. Because then I can write a list on like what cables I need and what sleeves I need. I also need to pick up some more heat shrink, and then I just make a list and just go buy everything so that I have everything I need here and we can do it all in one go. But I'll start cleaning up the wires a bit and I'll meet you all like in a second. I won't film this, but at least I'm showing you what I'm doing, so if you're interested or trying to do this yourself, you'll get somewhat of a better idea of how you do this. But remember guys, I'm not a professional. I'm just a redneck boy trying to teach you some shit. But yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. Nice. And I'm back again. I'm finally done with the wiring. We can check it out real quick. Like, I removed the thing in here, placed this thing here instead, and removed some shit that wasn't really necessary. Like the cable for the ignition control module, it's right here, that isn't used anymore. Tidy it up a little bit. Harness, this is the whole engine harness. Right now at least there will be another one for the ECU, that's just for gauges and etc. There's a lot more tidier than before. Fixed up the wires here a bit. This thing for the extra ignition is just hanging over here because I need to buy some stuff to sort that out. We are pretty much done here in the engine bay for today. So I started to go under the car and check out the situation with the fuel lines, because if you haven't seen, I don't know if maybe, oh yeah, it was this episode, but damn, this will be a long ass vlog. But anyway, I have both a return and a fuel in line, and I did not think I would have a return, so that makes things a whole lot easier for us. But I had to plan out how I'm gonna fit this up. So basically there's just a line from the fuel tank into here with no filter or anything. On the carbs you just run these small filters. So I'm going to pick up a fuel filter tomorrow, and then I'll go somewhere and have them make like a 8mm fuel hose on to like this sort of fitting, because this is what the B230s use on the fuel rail. And we are also picking up some more stuff. So I've tried writing down everything that I need to finish this engine swap, and I'll explain everything to you now. Like I said, at 8mm fuel hose to the fitting, some extra just fuel hose because we might want to replace some. We need some more cables for the auxiliary lights because I do want to do that a bit more nice than at the moment. Some cable sleeves in appropriate sizes. Some more cable for the extra ignition button because the last guy, I know who this is, but he used speaker cables and that doesn't really look so nice. We need a gasket kit. I want to put new gaskets at least on the manifold and or both the manifolds, both the intake and the exhaust one, because that's always good to do. And I feel like I should maybe also do the valve cover gasket because that one always goes bad. So it might be that it's cheaper to buy an entire kit than those things separately. So then I'll just buy the entire kit and have some extra gaskets. We need some new oil and filter for the car. Going to buy some 5W40. We need some new spark plugs because that's always nice, especially I know when you want to tune a car you want nice spark plugs, so I'm going with some BP6 ES from NGK. We need a in-tank fuel pump from a 940. This one I have to go and read up on the forums because I know 740s, they use two fuel pumps, like one in the tank and one underneath the car, and I'm thinking if I can get away with using one of those I will do that, but putting on two pumps when it's not even necessary feels kind of weird. I know that the 940s, the turbo ones, they use only one fuel pump in the tank. So if I can get away with that, with just buying a new pump, I'll do that. But if I can make it work with just like the one of the original pumps from the 740, I'll do that. But I don't think that that'll be enough. So yeah, I'm just running one pump. And if the 940 pump is the easy way to do that, I'll just get a pump from a Volvo 940. And then I need a fuel filter with 8mm hose fitting. So I can just put the fuel filter somewhere here in the engine bay, just thinking I would make it easy for myself, put it somewhere. They sell a whole assortment of fuel filters at Biltema. I think I'm going to get the same ones that I have in my drift car. Then I need some power steering fluid, antifreeze, and then also 8mm hose to 8mm hose fitting. I don't want to go to the store and have to buy more things, so I'm just thinking we should get everything and see, like, then we should be good. But this is all the shit I need to buy. I just got an email from Engdahl Motorsports this morning and it said that all of my ECU stuff were shipped. So we're pretty much good to go now soon. I just have to go to Biltema and some other stores tomorrow and pick some stuff up. Then we should be all ready to put the engine in and make everything work. Then we just have tuning left and we'll see how that works out. But I do want some feedback from you guys. Like, I know that not everyone who watches me understands everything about doing this kind of thing, and I know also that I don't. So I think it's kind of interesting to go through everything in detail and trying to explain to you guys what I'm doing and why. I hope you guys enjoy that, but I want some feedback in the comments if this is nice or you want more of a quick and dirty engine swap video, because I bet this video will be pretty long, I guess, at least. So yeah, tell me down here what do you think of this format. If you enjoy it, also leave a thumbs up on the video, it really helps me out. If you want to check out the Instagram or Patreon, links are down below. And other than that, I wish you all a great happy day and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Yo, I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see us